Welcome. In this video class, you're going to learn about the task 1 meant for IELTS general training exams. You know that in the task 1, you are asked to write a letter. The letters are generally of three kinds. One is formal, another is informal or casual, and the third one is semi-formal or semi-casual. The first thing as a candidate or a student that you need to understand about task 1 letters is that you need to know which type of letter you have been asked on the exam day in your exam. Uh, you need to first identify whether it is formal, informal, or semi formal. How can you identify them? You can identify them by looking at the question statement. For example, if you see that you are asked to write a letter to a complete stranger, for example, the editor of a newspaper, mayor of your locality, or a very senior employee of your company whom you have never met but you might know their name, or the person with whom you share a highly professional relationship. For example, the person is not your teacher but is your principal at the school or at the college. So the people who are not really known to you, and or you might have a very professional relationship with them, then you can identify that today the letter is of the formal type. Otherwise, if you are asked to write a letter to your friends, relatives, or family members, then it is a completely casual letter, which is also known as informal letter. And the third type of letters are semi-formal or semi-casual letters, where you are asked to write to someone whom you know. They are not your friends, family, or relatives. You know them very well, but they are not your personal relationships. You have a formal relationship with them. For example, a student knows the teacher, but the teacher is not a family friend or a relative. So, or a co-worker with whom you work, or your immediate boss. So by reading the question, you will get to know whether I'm writing to my family. So I'll keep my tone casual. If I'm writing to someone who is not my family, friends, or relatives, but I know them, I meet them on regular basis, they know me and I know them, then it is going to be a semi-formal letter and I'll have to keep my tone semi-formal. Otherwise, if I'm going to write to someone with whom I share a highly professional relationship, or I might not share any kind of relationship with them, then it is a formal letter. So first thing that you have to do in your exam is identify the type. Because if you don't identify the type and you don't keep your tone and the writing style according to the letter type, you might not get band 7 or your task 1. Now, what is the structure of a letter? The letter has all these parts. First part is salutation. I'll teach you all of these one by one in the forthcoming slides. But first thing that you have to write in a letter is salutation. And salutation depends upon the tone. Salutation is different for formal letters, semi-formal letters, and casual letters. Then the very first paragraph that you write is the introduction paragraph. What does it contain? It contains self-introduction. SI means self-introduction. Otherwise, you will not introduce yourself. You will just use greetings for them. You might ask how they are feeling, how they are, or how you are. You just ask them how are you. And apart from this SI or greetings, the other thing that you have to write in the introduction paragraph is POL. What is POL? POL means purpose of letter. What is purpose of letter? That is written in your question paper. That write a letter to complain, or write a letter to request, write a letter to say thank you. Why are you writing that letter to that person? That is your purpose of letter. Over here also you have to keep the tone of your sentence structures according to the tone of the letter. The purpose of letter will be different for formal letters, semi-formal letters, and casual letters. Then after the introduction paragraph, the introduction paragraph is going to be very crisp. Just two things, self-introduction and purpose of letter, or greetings and purpose of letter. If you miss any of these in your introduction will not fetch you enough band score. Then you have to move to the next paragraph, which is known as body paragraph number 1. Over here, you just need to elaborate on the first point that is written on your question paper. Then body para 2, you have to elaborate the point 2. Body para 3, you have to elaborate on the point 3 that is written on your question paper. So on your question paper, you will be given a situation which will be used to write your introduction, and then there will be 3 points written to help you about the content. You will use all those points one by one and make 3 separate paragraphs for each point. After elaborating on all the 3 points given on your question paper, you leave a blank line and write a closing line over there. Even while writing the closing line, you have to keep the tone in your mind that you must know whether I'm writing it formally, semi formally, or casually. And then the last is signing off. Signing off means you're just putting your name over there along with the regards. But that time also it's different for semi formal, formal, and casual letters. You have to keep the tone in mind. Let us learn all these things one by one now. Hey, how to start? I mean, how to salute. So, for the formal letters, always write dear sir slash madam, comma. Okay. So, dear is always already written on your question paper. You have to copy this word dear. Never use respected as we had learned in our Indian schools. We always write dear, and if it is a formal letter, the words used are sir slash madam, comma. But if you're writing a semi-formal letter, you would not use the words sir or madam. You will use the words dear Mr. Smith or dear Mr. Ford. What is Smith and Ford? This is the last name of the person. For example, in India, we say Mr. Sharma or Mr. Sidhu. So the surname is used here. The last name is used in the semi-formal letters. Then, for the casual letters, you directly use the first name of the person. Dear Ria, Dear Gia, Dear Smith, or Dear Rohan, whatsoever is the first name of the person that is used. So, I think that we are clear about the salutation. In the formal letters, we salute the person as sir or madam. In the semi-formal letters, we salute them by their last name, and in the casual letters, we salute them by their first name. After using this, putting a comma at the end, we just skip that line and move to the next line. For the IELTS letters, never intend your paragraph. Always start your paragraph from the very left margin. Okay. Then it is the time to write your introduction. How are we going to write the introduction? For the formal letters, you will introduce yourself first. And that introduction has to be professional. I need to tell the person what my name is and how they might recognize me. They might recognize me from my customer ID, from my employee ID, or from my reference number, my ticket number. So I have to give a very professional introduction first of all, and then the purpose of letter should be told to them, and that has to be very formal purpose of letter. For the semi-formal letters, you have to introduce yourself, but you can introduce yourself personally. For example, I'll be telling them my name and I can say your tenant or your co-worker or your subordinate or your neighbor. So I can personally introduce myself. See the difference? In the formal, we were introducing ourselves professionally. In the semi formal letters, we need to introduce ourselves, but we will be introducing ourselves personally because we know them, right? And then the purpose of letter is written formally. However, in the casual letters, we don't introduce ourselves because casual letters are written to friends, family, or relatives. They already know us. So there is no point introducing ourselves. Just give the greetings like, how are you? Or you might tell, I am fine. And then the purpose of letter should be written. Here, the purpose of letter should not be formal. It should be very informal, and you can keep an emotional tone. You might tell your feelings that I'm very excited to tell you that, or I'm very sorry to tell you that. So you can use your emotions in the purpose of letter in the casual letters. So the very first paragraph, that is introduction, always contains 2 sentences. In the formal and semi-formal letters, the first sentence is your introduction and the second is your purpose. However, in casual letters, we skip the self introduction, rather we write the greetings and then we write the purpose of letter. The purpose of letter is very formal, informal, and semi formal letters, but it is very casual in casual letters. It is very emotional also in casual letters. Moving to the body para 1, or if we want to see some examples of the introduction, for the formal letter, we may use a sentence like I, put your name over here, I, comma, Gurpreet Kaur, Sandeep Kaur, or Rahul. Then use brackets telling them resident of some place. For example, you're writing to a mayor, so you would introduce that I'm resident of Ludhiana. Or you might say my employee bracket. In the bracket, you will say employee ID 401 or client ID 401 or customer ID 120. So you are going to use brackets to professionally introduce yourself because they might not know you by your name. They might recognize you only by your ID. So in the formal letters, start the sentence with I, comma, give your name, start a bracket, give a formal ID to them, close the bracket, put a comma there, and then start telling, I'm writing this letter to. I'm writing this letter to. Now this part of the sentence was used as self introduction, and further now we are going to write the purpose of letter. However, in the casual letters, we are not telling them who we are. We don't need to tell them. So we simply start with a casual greeting. How are you? I hope you are doing well. I am writing this. Or you may say, I'm excited to tell you. I'm sorry to tell you. However, in semi-formal letters, you may just write your name. I, Sandeep Kaur, am writing this too. Or I, Sandeep Kaur, your tenant or your neighbor. You may just personally introduce yourself and then start writing the purpose of the letter. Then if we go for the closing lines, how can we close the line? Why I'm teaching the closing line straight after the introduction paragraph? Because these are the lines where you need to clearly show to your examiner that I am using the proper tone. So in the formal letters, you will be closing your letter by saying thanks for your time and consideration. However, in semi-formal letters, you might say hoping for a positive revert from your side regarding this or hoping for a timely action in this regard because most of the semi-formal letters are written as a request or complaint where you want the other person to revert to your request. So you might close the letter by saying this, while the casual letters can be closed by stating hoping to seeing you soon are looking forward to seeing you soon. So the closing lines are also perfect spaces where you can show to your examiner that you know the difference between the tones of formal, semi-formal and casual letters. Further, when you are signing off your letter, that also is different for the different letters. For the formal letters, you always sign off by saying yours faithfully, and in the next line, you will be writing your name. But for semi formal letters, we don't use the word faithfully, we use the word sincerely. While in the casual letters, emotional words are used, saying yours lovingly. So you have to learn these words according to the tone you will be using them in your exam. Apart from that, you also need to understand that letters are identified on the basis of their formality level, whether they are formal, informal, or casual. But you can also identify them on the other types, whether I'm writing a complaint letter, information letter, request letter, congratulations letter, or a thanks letter. So the introduction paragraph can use the words according to the type. For example, if you were writing to complain, you would say, I am writing this to complain about something. If you're just informing them, you might write, I am writing this to inform you about something. If you're requesting, you might say, I am writing this to request you to do something. Congratulations letter, I am writing this to congratulate you for something. Thanks, I am writing this to thank you for. So this is how you start your introduction paragraph with your introduction or greetings, and these are the sentences that are going to keep your tone upright according to the suitability to the question asked. In the next class, you will be seeing some sample answers of the formal letters, semi-formal letters and casual letters where you can use all these learnings from this particular video so as to produce a 7 band or more response. Thank you for watching. Keep learning.